Good afternoon, you guys. It's your boy B Mahari here, represent Mahari Nation Sports Podcast. Much love to the entire LDBC. This is not going to be a sports related video. This is going to be more of a lines of a personal, video of the things that have been going on around here, around my state, and around this country, though, too. So, I'm just going to go ahead and then fire away, and no matter, and I don't really care what anyone else thinks at this point. You know. What I've been kind of seeing, in this country, man, is that you know, police brutality has been at a whole time high, and everybody in this country has been pretty much been fed up with it. And the issue of police brutality against black people has been going on for centuries. And the things that I'm seeing here in this generation, gives me a lot of various memories of the Eritrean War, specifically two wars. One, the long one for independence that lasted 30 years, and then the border war with Ethiopia for 2 years between 98 and 2000. And the things that I kind of seen with the police are like reflections of the things that I saw in my own lifetime. Okay. And here's the thing, though, guys. My father, you know, and I have not had the best relationship with each other. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, a lot of it has to do with the fact of his own war experiences. You see, my dad, fought in the War of Independence, back when he was a youngster. And the memories and the things that I've seen, God forbid, you know, he saw a lot of different things that, I just wish I would never, see. And, I remember times where, he would talk about how how Ethiopian soldiers would come right into the village, take the men and they basically brutalize them, or just straight up just take them away for no reason at all, and then basically brutalize and torture them into the prisons. And it still goes on even today, with the Eritrean government doing the same thing to its own people. And the things that I've seen back then in those wars are like reflections of what I'm seeing with black people in America right now. And the big thing is people are just done now. They're done. They're tired of it, and it has now reached its boiling point. And you've seen what's been going on around the country. Anytime that we've seen police brutally torture and abuse black people, you know we've taken to the streets, and we voice our disgust and our frustration. And I don't like using the term riot, because it's basically a term of disrespect, because rioting is just basically you're just disrupting the peace for no reason at all. This has been more of a uprising, of a, I could say, a violent uprising, to say the least, because people are done. People are done. They are tired of this, and it is reached beyond its boiling point. I think 2020 right now is going to go down as probably the worst year in American history, but perhaps the most significant year, because now, with all the exposed racism that's been going on in this country, now it is now more out there more than ever, and people are basically standing up to it, and pretty much are done, you know allowing people to take advantage of their privileged opportunities. And so I remember one time where I've talked with this one, Eritrean kid who basically was from Eritrea, because he didn't know much English, and he tried his best to try to talk to me in English. And he talked to me about how, he would remember about his father being taken away by soldiers, and they basically took him to the backyard, tied him up, tied his feet and his hands through some ropes, basically used sticks, and basically beat the heck out of him with sticks for at least over about 10 minutes. Now, think about that for a moment. Think about being tortured by soldiers nonstop for 10 minutes with your kid watching it happen. Your kid's crying. He's trying to figure out your kid's crying. He can't do anything about it. You know, it what happened to George Floyd, it gave me a flashback of that. And I remembered back in college where our professor basically kept replaying the Philando Castile shooting, and it disgusted me so much that I had to literally tell him, "Listen, I gotta go. I gotta walk out because I was upset that that they were playing it in front of us because they were trying to use he was trying to use it in a way where he was trying to present about how to explain the information about what happened to, as a news anchor. And I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it because I couldn't stand seeing the sight of, another man dying in front of my eyes. And those kind of instances happen a lot, especially, during the wartime, during the independence war, because I remembered footages of where Ethiopian soldiers would gather up, the Eritrean prisoners in a in an unknown location, and then the soldiers would stand right behind them, and then with the Ethiopian commander on the side would give them the order to basically shoot them in the back or in the head. And trust me, it was just a brutal time, man. And you know those things give me those kinds of memories. Specifically, what happened to Rashard Brooks a couple weeks ago, man, it really disgusted me. Like, all you had to do was just get him to wake up, and all you had to do was just get him to wake up and move him out of the way, out of that drive-through. That's all you had to do. Sure, it was probably unpleasant for him to sleep, on the drive-through, but stuff like that happens. But for, for the fact that the person had to call the police on him for that, and then the fact that they basically were harassing him to the point where he had to get out the taser to defend himself to get him out of there, and then the officer didn't even try to like tackle him and try to restrain him or nothing, and then he just shot him, multiple times until he died. So there has to be police reform here. You either got to defund the police or basically reconstruct the entire police system, because the police system, the way it is now currently, is beyond corrupt. They're allowing police officers that had no relations with the community to have these jobs. And anytime these instances happen, it's mostly because of officers who don't even or not even involved in those kind of communities. To be honest with you, not many of them do even get involved in community activities. They don't reach out and talk to the people and try to relate to them and try to understand the environment surrounding their communities that they're patrolling. That's where, in my opinion, a lot of the issues come into play. Because when I see the Minneapolis Police Department, most of these guys basically are from the suburb areas. They're not from the metro city area. You know what I mean? That pretty much understand how most of these neighborhoods, operate, or how they communicate with one another. There's a huge miscommunication gap here. And when I was hearing that 60 Minutes interview with that Minneapolis police chief, it was basically half glass empty and half glass full, because I could see what he was trying to, say about what he was trying to do to prevent, a lot of this stuff from happening, because he's kind of grew up into it. But bro, when you sign up to be the police chief, I'm sorry, man, you have a lot of responsibility on your shoulders. And in all sincerity, he has not lived up to it. And the fact that you allow that the police unit have allowed bad people like Derek Chauvin to roam in the police department with no consequence at all really shows more about how broken down the police system is. That's why the people in Minneapolis booed Jacob Fry, the mayor, 2 to 3 weeks ago, when he basically refused to defund the police, because people are done. They are tired of this. You have to break apart the police, restructure the system, and bring in new people in that will help try to regain some of the relationships that have been broken in this community. Because the way it looks right now, it is broken, possibly beyond repair. And that's really that's going to be a very hard thing for them to get some of that trust back. Because when the neighborhoods and the people in that community don't have trust in the police system, how are they supposed to trust you when they basically dial up the 3 digits? You think about that though, guys, man. And you know, I'm Eritrean, as you guys know, and I treat myself as black first always, because I'm Eritrean American. But I'm always black first, because I grew up understanding that, listen, the police are not going to care what my ethnicity is. They only care about the one thing that is on my skin color. All right. And I identify myself as black all the time, because that's who I am. And I don't try to change anything about it. I embrace my heritage, absolutely. But I don't try to, distance myself from the black community, because we're basically united together. And one thing I will say, the one thing I will say about the communities in Minneapolis, when it compares to Somali, Ethiopian, Eritrean, and even the black community, sure, there are always sometimes there's a bit of miscommunication and there's sometimes some verbal disagreements between the communities. But when it comes down to police brutality and defending ourselves as people, we basically said, you know what, f this, we got to unite and fight together for our survival. And that's what I appreciate what I'm seeing in Minneapolis. I wish a lot of cities could take a cue from us. But I just feel like all these things that I'm seeing around the country, it's not normal. And when I have to talk to my relatives outside of the US, because most of them live in Europe, they live in very areas of the world, when they see a lot of this stuff that goes on in America, they ask me, like, is this really what happens all the time in America? That you get pulled over based on your skin color or things of that sort? I mean, here's a little story here, guys, and I think I might explain this before, but I'll say it again. I basically met a niece that I never met before in Germany, right? And she pretty much wants to, come to America and start her life there. And she pretty much asked, what's it like in America? I basically messaged her and I said, listen, I just need maybe some time to think about it. And I tried the best I could to explain how racist and how corrupt this country is and was at the time. And right now, it is not safe to be here in America because the racism in there right now, it is beyond a boiling point, and it's only going to get worse from here on in. What I fear is that it's going to get to a point where people are just going to have to start strapping up and start defending themselves. And hell, black people right now, I'm seeing a lot of them, taking gun licenses and trying to, learn how to defend themselves because it's gone to that point now. People are done. People are sick and tired of playing, the peaceful people and, trying to negotiate with those people. No, they're not willing to do that. So if they're not willing to do that, you know what? You got to start defending your life and defend your family, because if you don't defend your family, you become a coward. And I refuse to be a coward. Real talk, man. So the for my conclusion of the video is simply this. You know, all these things remind me of the wars that I went through, as an Eritrean man. And my parents never could have envisioned America being like this at this particular moment. They've been through, the LA riots, 9/11 and things of that sort, but nothing quite like this. And the fact that it was close to home really hits it hard for a lot of members of my family, which includes my parents. And so, you know, we need to continue on fighting for racial equality and continue to fight on, for rights for black people. And until those rights are not met, this is the kind of outcome we're going to see from here on in. So if you're not willing to strap up, you're not willing to get down into the trenches and start fighting for your survival and to fight for your place to be here, to basically live as people, then you know what? Get out the way for the stronger people that are willing to do the things that you're not willing to do. I'm not here to play coward games anymore. Not anymore. It is time to fight, and it's time to stand up and survive as people. And as I preach that to the colors that I stand on the right side of your screen there, that's who I am, and nothing will change about it. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section.